Hey guys, Arik is here, your Russian coach. I hope you haven't been crying too much. I'm sorry if you cried too much, because we're talking about the subject of crying women, ПЛАКАЛЬЩИЦы, remember? So, please open your learning materials and we will cheer you up a little bit. Yeah, the subject is not going to be super happy, but we're going to have it in a happy way. So, we are learning now Почему на Руси так ценили плакальщиц? Why in Russia? But I'm reminding you that на Руси, it's not the same as в России, because в России might also mean modern Russia. But на Руси, it means old, ancient Russia. Почему на Руси так ценили плакальщиц? So why in Russia people valued so much the professional mourners, the crying women? Yeah, because плакальщицы comes from плакать, which is to cry. So please open, if you do not have it printed yet, please open the link below this video and don't cry. Now, we learned that there were special women who were paid to cry at different events, and not just at the funerals. Today we're going to talk about funerals in relation to these crying women. So funerals, that's похороны. Yeah, if you're not familiar, you can underline похороны and write above that funerals. Funeral in your printed materials. But just notice that похороны is plural. So there is no singular form for funeral in Russian. Похороны. So, главной сферой их деятельности были похороны и поминки. So let's go over the vocabulary. Сфера means sphere. Деятельность, activity. Похороны, we said funeral. And поминки, that's kind of remembrance day. The remembrance day of the dead person. So for example, someone dies. After the funeral, they have поминки. Or certain amount of days after the person passed away, they had поминки. So that's kind of a memorial day of a person. So let's see how it works. When they say ich, there, of course it relates to these professional mourners. Главной сферой их деятельности были похороны и поминки. So the main sphere of their activity was funeral and memorial days. Считалось, что причитания помогают душе покойного правильно уйти в мир иной и не стать не стать злым духом. So считалось, please underline, it was thought, or it was considered. So считалось что, even, you can just underline it as one expression. It was considered that, or people believed that. Okay, so причитание, I would translate that as ritual wailing. You know, is when you say, oh, that's such a pity, he has left us, things like that. So, ritual wailing. Причитание. Помогают душе покойного. So, душа means soul. And покойного comes from покойный, which is the deceased, like the person who passed away. Правильно уйти в мир иной. Уйти в мир иной is an expression meaning to go into another world. И не стать злым духом, не стать, not to become. Дух means spirit. So не стать злым духом, not to become a mean spirit, because злой means like a mean person, a bad person. So not to become a bad spirit, a mean spirit. So now look how it all works together. Считалось, что причитания помогают душе покойного правильно уйти в мир иной и не стать злым духом. It was considered that ritual wailing helps the soul of the deceased in a correct way to go into another world and not to become a bad spirit. Погребальный обряд имел свой распорядок, последовательность, время совершения ритуальных действий и своих ведущих. So, погребальный обряд. Погребальный means related to the funeral. Погребальный. So the process of burying the body of a person is called погребение. Погребение. So, погребальный, that's an adjective from погребение. Погребальный обряд. Обряд means ritual. So, погребальный обряд would be the funeral ritual. Имел свой распорядок. Распорядок means schedule. Последовательность means sequence. Время совершения ритуальных действий. Совершение means performance. Действие means actions. Therefore, время совершения ритуальных действий would be the time or the timing of the performance of ritual actions. И своих ведущих. So своих means its own, because своих relates here to погребальный обряд. The burial ritual. The burial ritual. And so своих relates here to погребальный обряд. Ведущих, ведущий means the leader. So и своих ведущих, it means its own leaders. You will get now how it all works together. Погребальный обряд имел свой распорядок, последовательность, время совершения ритуальных действий и своих ведущих. The funeral ritual had its own schedule, sequence, the timing of the performance of the ritual actions, and its own leaders. You see how it all works together? Just agree with me that the first time I read this sentence, you got very little out of it, if at all. And now you get it close to 100%, and that's real Russian for you. So look, I will read now this whole paragraph, and you will see that your understanding is getting better. Listen. Главной сферой их деятельности были похороны и поминки. Считалось, что причитания помогают душе покойного правильно уйти в мир иной и не стать злым духом. Погребальный обряд имел свой распорядок, последовательность, время совершения ритуальных действий и своих ведущих. О смерти человека узнавали в округе и приглашали на последнее прощеньице. So again, this is an impersonal sentence, meaning there is no subject here, because uznavali means got to know. But who got to know? You don't have the subject. So it means people got to know. So therefore, we'll insert the word people here. Therefore, look how it works. О смерти человека узнавали в округе. Округа means surroundings. People got to know, rather, people in the surroundings got to know about the death of a person. О смерти человека. Смерть means death, right? So, о смерти человека узнавали в округе и приглашали на последнее прощеньице. Прощеньице, that's an obsolete term. It's the same as in the modern Russian прощание, which is farewell. So последнее прощание would be the last farewell. So now please see how it all works together. О смерти человека узнавали в округе и приглашали на последнее прощеннице. People in the surroundings knew about the death of the person. And приглашали means invited, and invited for the last farewell. Now this sentence isn't built the perfect way structure-wise. You know why? Because приглашали relates to the relatives of the deceased, of a person who had passed away, not to the people in the surroundings. So actually the proper structure, the better structure would be: о смерти человека узнавали в округе, и члены его семьи приглашали на последнее прощеннице. So people in the surroundings got to know about the death of a person, and the members of his family, члены его семьи, members of his family, invited, meaning invited people, for the last farewell. But again, if we translate that directly, not to confuse you too much, it's just not a perfect sentence structure-wise. So people in the surroundings got to know about the death of a person and invited. It doesn't mean were invited. It means invited for the last farewell, meaning like the family of the deceased invited the people. And we continue. В доме покойного начиналось его обрежение. Умершего омывали водой, одевали в смертную одежду, укладывали на лавку в переднем углу головой к иконам. So, обрежение, first of all, в доме покойного. So I'm just reminding you that покойный means the deceased. Обрежение, that's an obsolete term, meaning like preparations for the funeral. So, обрежение. So, in the house of the deceased started his preparations, his preparing. Умершего омывали водой. So again, the impersonal sentence, омывали means washed. It's the same word as мыть, мыться. You probably know this one, right? So омывать, it's wash as a part of a particular ritual. So умершего омывали водой means people washed the deceased with water. Одевали в смертную одежду. So they, одевали means dressed. Смертную is an adjective from смерть, which is death. So смертную means death related. Смертную, death related clothes. So people washed the deceased with water, dressed in the death related clothes, укладывали на лавку в переднем углу. So they lay. Укладывать means to lay someone somewhere. And лавка means bench. Bench in a home, in a traditional Russian home. So they lay on a bench. В переднем углу, in the front corner. Углу comes from угол, which is corner. Головой к иконам. So head towards the icons. So now please see this whole sentence. В доме покойного начиналось его обрежение. Умершего омывали водой, одевали в смертную одежду, укладывали на лавку в переднем углу головой к иконам. In the house of the deceased started his preparation. People washed the deceased with water. dressed in death-related clothes, lay on a bench in the front corner, head towards the icons. Все это делалось под причеты плакальщиц, в которых рассказывалось о жизни усопшего. All that was done. Делалось comes from делать, but that's reflexive because you have s here. It's the same as ся, and that's be done. So все это делалось. It all was done. Под причеты. Под причеты means while wailing, because причеты, причитать. You see, причитание. You remember причитание a few sentences ago? It was ritual wailing. So причеты means wailing. And под причеты means while wailing, плакальщиц of these mourners. В которых рассказывалось, so в которых means in which, and it relates to wailing, because here it's in wailings, because therefore that's plural, в которых, in which. So в которых means in which. Рассказывалось, it was told. Again, you have с here, it's reflexive. It was told о жизни усопшего, about the life of the deceased. So усопший means deceased. So все это делалось под причеты плакальщиц, в которых рассказывалось о жизни усопшего. All that was done while the ritual wailing of the mourners, in which it was told about the life of the deceased. Now please see how it all works together. We're having fun, yeah? It's a quite the subject that might seem gloomy to some people, but I'm trying to keep high tones, yeah? So to entertain you a little bit. So now please see how it all works together. О смерти человека узнавали в округе и приглашали на последнее прощеннице. В доме покойного начиналось его обрежение. Умершего омывали водой, одевали в смертную одежду, укладывали на лавку в переднем углу, головой к иконам. Все это делалось под причеты плакальщиц, в которых рассказывалось о жизни усопшего. And we continue. Причитывали 3 дня. So причитывали, so they wailed. So причитывали, again, impersonal sentence, means like they. They were wailing for 3 days. Сначала дома, потом на улице, когда клали покойного в гроб. Когда клали покойного в гроб, выносили из дому, несли на кладбище, хоронили. So сначала дома, сначала, you probably know. So let's see if there are certain words. So клали means lay. Клали в. So lay into something. Гроб means coffin. Выносили из дома. Выносить means to take out of. Несли на кладбище. Кладбище means cemetery. So несли carried. Хранили means buried. So they continue this idea that people were wailing for 3 days. Сначала дома, first, or at the beginning, at home. Потом на улице. After that, at the street. Когда клали покойного в гроб, when they laid the deceased into a coffin. Выносили из дома, carried out. So выносили basically it's carried out. Carried out of home. Несли на кладбище, carried to the cemetery. Хоронили, buried. So they are saying, талантливая плакальщица не только умела передать чувства близких покойного. So the talented wailing woman not only knew how to convey, передать means to convey, the feelings of the relatives, of the deceased. So близких, you might have heard близкие other than it's closed, like one thing close to another, bliska, bliski, right? It might also mean like relatives. So when they say here чувство близких покойного, it means the feeling of the relatives of the deceased. So they are saying, талантливая плакальщица не только умела передать чувства близких покойного. The talented professional mourner not only could convey the feelings of the relatives of the deceased. Ее плач был чем-то вроде некролога в газете. В нем рассказывалось о жизненном пути усопшего, причинах смерти, о судьбе семьи. So, necrolog means obituary. Чем-то вроде, something like. So, when they say, ее плач был чем-то вроде некролога в газете, they mean that her wailing was something like the obituary in a newspaper. В нем рассказывалось о жизненном пути усопшего. So again, усопший means the deceased. Жизненный путь, the way of life. Рассказывалось was told. So в нем means it relates to necrolog, which means the obituary. So I will translate в нем in it, because we're not talking about a person here. So again, ее плач был чем-то вроде некролога в газете. В нем рассказывалось о жизненном пути усопшего, причинах смерти, о судьбе семьи. Судьба means fate. So her wailing was something like the obituary in a newspaper. In it was told about the life path of the deceased, the causes of the death, about the fate of the family. So now I will read these two little paragraphs together, and you will see that you get it. Причитывали, so I'm just reminding you that причитывали means they wailed in a ritual way. Причитывали 3 дня. Сначала дома, потом на улице. Когда клали покойного в гроб, выносили из дома, несли на кладбище, хоронили. Талантливая плакальщица не только умела передать чувства близких покойного. Ее плач был чем-то вроде некролога в газете. В нем рассказывалось о жизненном пути усопшего, причинах смерти, о судьбах семьи. And then we have a picture here, and the caption: «Женщина, плачущая у могилы Христа». So a woman wailing near the tomb of Christ. Okay, guys, we are going to finish for today. I have to go soon. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Please recommend this channel to other people who learn Russian, who have at least certain basics of Russian. And we're going to see each other at the next lesson. If you need my personal help, you have my email. You can ask questions. You can request private consultation. So just feel free. I will just drop me a line. I will explain to you everything, how it works. Ciao, ciao, guys. Bye-bye.